Hello, beautiful souls. Coach Rachel Lynn back with you again for another video that I think is going to be very impactful and meaningful you in moving forward in your coping skills in managing something that can be so debilitating, which is anxiety. So I would be willing to bet that most of you, if not most all of you, have experienced anxiety from time to time, or maybe it's something that is more prominent in your life that you deal with on a daily basis. And anxiety is one of those things that can really be debilitating. It can impair your functioning, your overall health and well being, and keep you stranded curbside on the road of life if you let it. So, today's video is on how to take control of your anxiety. And there's 5 things that I feel that are important to realize in order to get back into the driver's seat in managing that anxiety that we sometimes, or a lot of times, experience. So, first off, I want to thank each of you who have been watching my videos, making comments, and giving me feedback on what you would like to hear more about, and for making comments, for subscribing, for liking. I definitely appreciate you taking the time, and I want to continue to make videos that I think will be meaningful and impactful to you in just getting through everyday life to the point where you can accelerate toward all of the things that you want to experience in life without anything holding you back. So that's my mission, to put you back into the driver's seat, hand you the keys that you need to accelerate toward the life that you desire. So, as a therapist, anxiety is one of those things that is kind of like the common cold of mental health issues today. So, the majority of people do experience anxiety in some form. And there's 5 things I want you to realize about that so that you can get back in the driver's seat and you drive it out. Okay? Drive the anxiety out instead of being the captive passenger that's debilitated from the anxiety. So, first thing I want you to realize, and this is so super important, is this: anxiety is a liar, first and foremost. Anxiety can make you believe things that are not true. Your thoughts, your anxious thoughts, can make you doubt your self esteem, right? Your self worth. It can make you doubt your abilities. It can make you paranoid about relationships or things that are going on around you. It can really be debilitating in those ways and negatively impair your relationships. And sometimes anxiety can be to the point, especially if you are someone who experiences panic attacks, it can actually make you feel and make you think that you are dying. So, those are some pretty powerful ways that anxiety can make you believe things and experience things that are not true threats. Now, I do want to say that some anxiety is normal, like, it actually can protect us. But there is a line between normal anxiety that might keep us from walking out in front of a car or being in an unsafe area that may potentially really lead to a bad situation. But there's the fine line from that normal anxiety that actually does serve to protect us, and then crossing over to debilitating anxiety where we worry about things that are never likely to happen, and we ride that emotional response to the point that it affects our behavior, our mental health, and our ability to succeed in the things that we want. So just wanted to make sure I pointed that out, that, some anxiety is normal, and you can learn to manage those things, but you can also learn to manage what you may be experiencing as debilitating anxiety. But everything that we do in life, how we proceed depends on our perception. So, first off, getting the perception that anxiety is a liar, and even repeating that to yourself when you start to have a lot of anxious thoughts and things that you feel are putting you in a tremendous state of fear or maybe even paralyzing you. So, repeat to yourself when you have those experiences: anxiety is a liar. This is making me believe things that are not true, and I need to step back a minute and look at these things and reality test those thoughts. Okay, so anxiety is a liar. Number 2, you are separate from your anxious thoughts. So here's a very powerful thing that I learned several years ago and have been implementing with my clients as a therapist is being able to consciously separate you as the observer of your thoughts versus you experiencing your thoughts. Now that might sound a little bit confusing at first, but once you realize how this works, it can give you a tremendous amount of power over your anxiety. So let me give you an example. You're sitting in your living room and these thoughts come into your head and you start to feel your heart racing and you start to feel some fear or worry about what is going to happen. What you do at that point is you step back and say, I observe that I'm thinking some anxious thoughts. So what happens is you start to separate yourself from the actual thoughts and realize that you are not the thoughts, you are the observer. All right? So it's very powerful to be able to step back and just simply observe what it is that you're thinking, what your mind creates, because our mind creates so many thoughts in the course of a day. And the majority of those things are random, what if scenarios that are never likely to happen. And even if they did happen, you could deal with them. All right. So if you think about all of the anxious thoughts you've ever had in your life, how many of those things actually did occur? And I think it would be pretty obvious to say that if you're watching this video, there's never been anything that has occurred in your life that you haven't been able to make it through and persevere forward. So put those anxious thoughts in perspective and realize that they are liars and that you are not your anxious thoughts. You have to put yourself into the place of being the observer of those thoughts. All right. So number 3 is you are more in control than you think. When you have anxiety and it's severe anxiety, you don't feel a sense of control. It actually puts you in a feeling of feeling out of control, and that increases the anxiety even more. But again, everything goes back to perspective. So, perspective number 3, thing that I need you to realize is that you are more in control than you think. So, let's talk about that for a minute. You have the power to choose which thoughts that you jump in the car with. Again, we have so many anxious thoughts on a daily basis, but you have a choice as to which ones that you're going to jump in the car and ride out down the interstate and get to a destination of fear and hopelessness and despair, right? So just because you have an anxious thought doesn't mean that you have to devote your full entire attention to that thought and then ride out the whole scenario, play the script in your head all the way through to the end to a completely catastrophic outcome. You have a choice. First of all, if you become the observer, you are separating yourself from that thought. And then you have power over whether or not you jump in the car with those thoughts because you can simply let them drive on by. They can pass you by. It just be like if you're walking on the street, you don't jump in every car that passes you by and then ride out not knowing where you're going. That could be dangerous, right? So you want to be able to realize that you are in control. And it's even good to remind yourself of that when you start to have anxious thoughts. And just repeating, these are just anxious thoughts. All right. I am the observer of these thoughts. These thoughts can be a liar, and I am in control in this situation. So realize that not everything that you think is reality. So start looking at that and questioning yourself with your thought processes because really the only thing that we have control over in life is what we think and how we behave. All right. And the way this works in our lives and in our minds is that you have a thought. And that thought creates a feeling, hence the anxiety. And then the anxiety creates a behavior. So that behavior may make you not want to get out of the house. It may make you not want to pursue a certain goal that you've set for yourself, or, whatever that might look like for you. It can be paralyzing. So realize that where it starts is with your thinking, and that your thinking is only the one thing you only have control over in life, your thinking, and then your corresponding behavior. So go back to the thoughts. Number 4, realize that there are countless things that you have worried about in your past that you were convinced were imminent, that were going to happen, that never did. And think about how much power those thoughts had on you at that time, ruling over your emotions, your well-being, your level of stress, your level of fear. And they were for no reason at all, other than you got wrapped up in the thought. It created the emotion of fear, and it created a behavior that kept you paralyzed from moving forward. So we think many, many thoughts that we feel are imminent. Like, just because I think it, it means it's going to happen. That is where anxiety is a liar comes in. That's not real, and you cannot believe everything that you think. And number 5 thing that I want you to realize is that by shining the light on your anxious thoughts and taking the opportunity to sit with them as the observer can actually diminish those anxious thoughts and feelings. Most people, when they have something that they are experiencing that is unpleasant to them, they want to escape or push it away. And with anxiety, it creates the opposite effect. So the more that you try to fight it off, or the more you try to ignore it, it just keeps coming up full force, and you can't find a way off of that hamster wheel. Okay, so what I want you to realize is that instead of running away from the anxious thoughts, I need you to shine the light on them and say, "Come here. I see you. I see you, and we're gonna like digest this, and we're gonna look at this, and we're gonna process this for what it really is." All right? Not accurate information. And I'm gonna sit right here with the anxiety. All right? So when you have the courage to actually sit down with that anxiety, something really amazing happens. It starts to lessen. It starts to lose its control over you, your emotions, your well being, and then ultimately your behavior. And then you start to realize how powerful you are in being able to manage those anxious thoughts, and that you are the one that is actually in the driver's seat of your anxiety instead of being the passenger that's being recklessly driven in a direction that you do not want to go. So, again, you have more control than you think, and that doing what seems counterproductive or would make things worse to you actually helps to decrease the anxiety, which is to sit with it and not be afraid of it. And, I've talked to clients before and encouraged them, call it out. I see you. You're making me think I'm going to die right now. Okay, well, just go ahead. Go ahead. If that's what you're going to do, if that's what's going to happen, just let's go ahead and make it happen. And then you're sitting there and the clock keeps ticking, and it's like, all right, I'm not dead. Nothing is happening. You are a liar. So don't let it bully you. Call it for what it is. Realize it's false information, and that you are the one that is going to take charge of that situation. So, just to recap for you, the 5 things that you need to realize when it comes to taking control of your anxiety is that anxiety is a liar. Don't be afraid to call it out. Number 2, you are separate from your thoughts, that you can become the observer, and that it's not necessary to jump in every anxious thought and write it out that you have. You have the ultimate control to manage and take control of the situation, and you have ultimate control over what you think. All right? And your thoughts create feelings, they create behaviors. So consciously choose the thoughts that you think, and that being still and sitting with your anxiety can actually help decrease it. And it helps you gain the courage and understanding that you need, that you are no longer a victim of this false information that pops into your head that you are the one in control. And when you can realize these 5 things, you're going to feel so much more empowered to manage those anxious thoughts because they may not completely go away. I mean, I think everybody has them to some extent, but they're not going to have control over you. That is what is important. So knowing what to give your attention to, knowing that some anxiety is normal, but knowing where to cross the line where it's debilitating is important. And I have to give you the keys to be able to manage these things because I see so many people debilitated by anxiety. So if you're someone who is dealing with anxiety, drop me a comment. Give me some ways that you have been able to deal with this that might be helpful to some of the other viewers on the channel. And if you've tried any of these techniques and they have worked for you, or something new that you want to share, please feel free to drop comments on the videos. And I hope that you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Feel free to leave comments. And even if you have suggestions for topics for new videos, I'd love to hear from you. Please don't hesitate to drop me a line. Until then, keep living life in the driver's seat.